Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be in the world. Welcome to today's conversation. I'm Sarah Jane, one of the hosts of this program. I also have, I'd like to say a topic first. Our topic is holiness. And I think this is going to be a conversation that we're all looking forward to in our own unique ways. So my co-hosts, and I'm going to go sort of in an order that I can see people on the screen, which may not be the way you can see it. But my co-hosts, David, welcome. Thank you.
Hi there. Good evening. Thank you, and good evening to everybody.
And Patricia.
Hello there. Nice to see everybody.
And our guest, Jack Miller. Jack, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Well, this evening where I am.
Thank you, Sally. God bless everybody.
And Jack, you've chosen the topic for this program, as I said, holiness. Share a little of your story and also why this particular subject, this topic, is so important to you.
Well, actually, I didn't choose it. I was given it. Thank you. And the reason it's so important to me because it's taken me probably over 40 years to get to this place. And that place of being given up as a child at all kinds of abuses, put in hospitals, in 3 different families, all the hurts, pains, and wounds from the past. And then becoming a, father myself and go, oh my God, how am I going to make this work? I'm not feeling very good and confident inside me. And did have 3 gorgeous children and 3 gorgeous grandchildren. Very blessed in so many ways. Got a university degree. Got the university degree and went, how come I still want to take myself out? How come I still want to commit suicide? I think I've bought the wrong bill of goods here. So, of course, having read people like Buddha and Christ and the rest, okay, it's time for me to take this, what they call the journey within. I've done so much out here. I've done hundreds and hundreds of workshops, read hundreds and hundreds of books. What if I just come back home? Like that line says, be still and know that I am God. All I had up to this point was a head idea of what God was. I hadn't allowed my body to feel what that was. And once I went into that and just felt it more and more, that grace just pouring in, that's about the only word I was left with was holiness. That's me in a nutshell.
No, thank you for sharing that, because it is, isn't it, about that journey inwards.
Oh.
And they say about, sort of stop looking outside of yourself. And the way I look at the comfort zone is outside of us. To step outside of your comfort zone is to step back into yourself.
Nice paradox.
So, sort of, David, Patricia, one of you like to add to this conversation?
Yeah, I will if you like. It was really interesting when I saw the title of what you were bringing forward and the energy you were bringing forward, Jack. And it made me stop and think and say, what is my perception of holiness? And it took me back, I suppose, to younger times when you were used to hear, oh, His Holiness this, His Holiness that. And it became a very, I suppose, structured religious concept. And you were putting people on a pedestal for putting them up there and being the holiness. But as my spiritual journey has evolved over the past few decades, and doing a lot of work and going inside, it's more like if I add a W onto it, it's whole. And it's feeling you as the whole of you, the whole of your essence. And it's becoming at one with your essence, becoming one with your source, becoming one in your alignment, and understanding who we are inside. And it's really like a wholeness rather than a holiness, if that makes sense. And that's what it made me think. And I thought, we are all on a journey, and there are holiness because they are perceived to be everything with their connection to the source. But we can all have that feeling of holiness inside if we connect in, understand ourselves, and connect and be open to our true source to align our whole selves.
Seriously,
And we
David.
feel the power.
Yeah. Sorry, seriously, David, as you started speaking, I suddenly thought, whole. It's about being whole. So absolutely, it clicked at that point in time. So thank you for what you've just shared. Patricia.
Well, thank you for that, David. It's, you and I are just sort of on a similar thread there, because I started thinking too, because as I've said, I hadn't spoken to Jack before. So I really wasn't quite sure where he might be coming from with that particular word. And when I tuned into that, I got wholeness. That was what came through. So the wholeness of the mind, body, spirit, all of that. But then, as you rightly say, if you delve into that word just a little bit, then there is separation can come in, where there are hierarchies and patriarchal stuff going on. And then I thought, no, because I'm reading what Jack's writing, and I've been reading it now for some weeks. And I'll tell you what your words do to me, because that's all. I just seem to translate everything into the vibration of your words, Jack. Are, well, for a start, they're being channeled from a very high source, the source, but also they really touch the heart. They really, I feel emotional when I read your words, and I felt very emotional listening to you there, because it's, you know, how blessed are we, because I think each one of us in our own way have found exactly where we are too, and we haven't all got there with the same challenges or things happening in our lives. We've all had our own issues, situations, yeah. And we've all made our way through somehow or other. That beautiful guide there that is source or creator, God. What, you know, for me, it's actually not in the name. I just know how grateful I am to the great spirit, if you like, that is guiding us every step of the way. And for me, that the power, we're going to be doing a sound thing later in the year, but you know, the power of words, your powers to communicate that this beautiful energy, to be able to bring that through, it touches the hearts of so many people. So anyway, I'm just going to tell you this. I think I should, I'm stepping into David's shoes here, but I think we should be doing a wee book, you know. I think we should be putting together a nice little book for, and you would need to tap into all of your life experience and think, well, who would value this the most? Would it be youngsters who are challenged by their backgrounds, their upbringing? We watch a thing on BBC TV or ITV, I don't know which, but it's about long lost families and people who've been abandoned on doorsteps and heaven knows all what. And then these wonderful researchers come along and do all the work, and they find their connections and their families for them. And I mean, I'm watching this unfold on television, and Bill said to me, he says, "Did you just watch that disappear from that woman's, the shame and guilt just went off that woman's shoulders," as this guy was speaking to her and saying, "Your mother doesn't hold you any resentment or, loves you to bits and all this kind of." That I think maybe, and I'm just offering that to you, that a little book for the young ones, because we are the way showers. We're knocking on a bit, as they say. So, we need to be taking them by the hand and saying, "Hey, we've been through all this, what, and wading knee deep in it, and we've dealt with so much." The wonderful thing is, I know that we have dealt with so much past life stuff, ancestral stuff, and that's just the folk I've helped. I'm sure David and Sara, yourself, will have worked with people to help me through all that. So, yeah, and I mean, if I can be, you let me know if I can be of any help there. I'd be happy to do that. We have loads of people in the group that are very accomplished at many things and are great at keeping one eye on the budget. In other words, it doesn't cost much at all. So,
Jack, do you want to sort of come in on sort of anything that anybody has said?
Well, I want to acknowledge and appreciate Patricia for her heartfelt words as the warm tears flowed down my face as you said them. I felt them. And I did want to add that I was a high school teacher also for 20 years. And of course, as I was going along, I was doing my own personal journey. And it just became more and more difficult where you're talking about the children, to see them and understand they need a different foundation than what the system says. Here's the 5 subjects and that's your foundation. You get them and you got a wonderful life. Sorry, BS. And I just hurt because I knew people that suicided, and my heart was just breaking more and more. And then it was interesting. I was at a workshop called Love, and I just asked Heaven, "Could you please give me a sign whether I'm meant to stay here and try to help the kids from here? Because all I'm getting right now is flack from the system, and I'm being the most loving and helping I've ever been in my life." And within 2.5 minutes on a break, bam, 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 I got it. And I walked in the next morning, and I just had to give the system back to Heaven. And then start my own journey even deeper that I'd been going to even go deeper. And that's when I went off to see people like Sai Baba and Amaji and things like that. But the kids, it was just, can I share one quick little story about being in school?
Of course.
One of the, I had 5 minutes left in a math class. I taught them, they'd done some homework or whatever. I didn't know what to do, and I just sat there, and I got this guidance, just, why don't you just give them a question? So of course, the amount of participation in the class was about, about that much at that moment. So I just stood up and I said, "Hey, everybody, what if you took this question in and thought and felt about it for a moment? What if there was no right and wrong?" And the energy level in that classroom just went, straight to heaven. And I went, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not the one that can bring it to you, but I know that's what you need. So I bless you and I leave you, but thank you for what you just gave me. Thank you, children. Thank you, children. Thank you, children. children.
And it very much is about the children, isn't it? I know somebody sort of told me that I'd be working with children, but actually the children I'm working with are people's inner child. Because yeah, absolutely, I totally get it. Was brought up by my own parents, but the beginnings to my life, sort of left me feeling unwanted, unloved, not good enough. Although the insecurity was phenomenal, to the extent that, people say, oh, I remember this about my life, and I remember that, and I said, I don't remember any of it. I don't remember it because it hurt me too much. Why are you going to remember what hurts you?
Yeah.
But thinking about the journey, but thinking about terminology, because having been raised a Catholic, and I don't tend to use the word God, although I've read the books Conversations with God, and I think they are brilliant. They've answered so many questions for me. They really have. I know other people who've said they put it in the bin, but they've answered so many questions for me. But the term I love is great mystery. I love that. I believe that's a Native American term, great mystery. Because isn't it about a mystery? The mystery of the truth of ourselves, our connection with the whole, the one, the all that is. And it is a mystery for us to delve into, to dive into. And yes, when I saw the word holiness, the way it is written, thinking about religion and Catholicism and whatever, it was just like, okay, this is getting me outside my comfort zone. But then I seriously did, because I've moved away from what I consider to be man-made religions. And I believe so much more. Yes, I believe in our Creator, because that's the term I tend to use. In Mother Mary, in Jesus, in the Holy Spirit, in the angels, and the dragons, and so much more. Because it is more than we have ever been taught. And accepting the fact that so much fear has been created around things, or if you, and obviously having been raised a Catholic, if you marry in a Catholic church, you get divorced, you will go to hell, you cannot go to heaven. And it's just like, do you know what? But I could go and murder somebody, and I could get forgiven for that. And I think I've heard it said, so if I'd killed my husband, I would get forgiven for that. But the fact I divorced him, 2 of them actually, it's just sort of, do you know what? And I could never get my head around loving, caring, forgiving God, and then you get all this stuff. I won't swear, but all this stuff that comes in, this negative stuff. The negative doesn't go with loving, caring, forgiving. It really doesn't. And it's about that. But isn't the forgiving about forgiving yourself? It's absolutely about forgiveness of self, so that you can free yourself from the energies around whatever it is that is right for you to forgive yourself for. So I'm now going to chuck this back home, because so Jack, do you want to take it from there? Because I sort of seeing your actions, and then we can come back down to Patricia and David.
I had one of my great mentors, Chuck Swazao, and friend, said, okay, everybody, in a workshop, he said, okay, everybody, put your finger here. Now you know how many people are in the world. Now you know who is responsible for the world. And I'm sorry I forget the third piece. If it comes back to me, I'll share it. And in that moment, I went, oh my God. And I only use the word God just because it's a word I was brought in my adoptive home and sent to church, right? You can use peanut butter. The word doesn't matter. What, God, we even fight over one word. Ay, 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 ay. It's time. Oh, that's another wonderful one he said. It's never, never, never about the fight. No, no. And that's the idea of holiness. Holiness comes from love. And the only place we can all find that love is within ourselves. And coming back to you about forgiveness, and just the teaching point is just one of the easy things to do. Think about it in your own lives. Hasn't it been easy to forgive others out there? But we can use them as shields to keep us from coming right back here. What is it I still attack myself for? What do I still judge myself for? What do I still hate myself for? Can I do that deep forgiveness work?
I think you were picking up on some things I was thinking there, Jack, and it was when you're talking about the other side, like our, let's call it our shadow side, and everybody's got the light and the shadow. And we beat ourselves up so much because we've all said things, we've all done things, and most probably taken action when we're not feeling comfortable with that. And we we bring it on together, but we made those decisions at that time. And hindsight's a wonderful thing. So it's really, isn't it? Yeah. I think, oh my goodness me, what was I doing saying that or doing that about 30, 40 years ago? But we're still here. But isn't it about that holiness coming back and loving our shadow as well as our light, because it is part of us? And if we love our light, we heal it. If we love our shadow, surely that heals those parts of us that make us human, make us who we are in this life and beyond. But you are filling yourself with more love instead of beating yourself up all the time. And once coming back into your own holiness within yourself. And it doesn't mean we're up there like a saint or anything like that. But holiness makes us feel everything. We're not separating ourselves from one side or the other. We are all this. We are love. And if we send that love to the parts that we are not comfortable with, then love heals. And it's easier said than done. I really appreciate that. But it really does help people to say, okay, we've done that. Everybody here has most probably had a moment in their life where they think, should I have done that? Should I have gone down that road? But if we just love it because it's brought it to where we are today, and we wouldn't be where we are today without that. So loving all parts of us, the whole of ourselves, surely that heals ourselves and the world that we have created for ourselves.
Absolutely. That's my viewpoint on it anyways. One word. Absolutely, Dave.
Okay.
But picking up on your point there, David, working, healing the world, to really do that with great consciousness, to know that everything we're doing for ourselves, whether it's our daily practice of meditation or whatever we're doing, and taking time to notice what's coming up on a daily basis, and taking time to go in and forgive that in the moment, to disentangle from chatter, situations, familial, all that kind of thing, and actually pull back your power from it all, to centralize that power and ground it again, is that really has an immense effect, I feel, on the collective consciousness. And the more that we can do that with conscious awareness, the better it will be. And that to me, it's interesting you were in education, Jack, because, well, you're still in the education business. We're all in it. And basically, it's every opportunity we get to chat to clients or friends or whatever about that. And I was listening to, oh gosh, Greg Braden, I think it was, one of the scientists that I follow, who is such a spiritual man. He is amazing. And he was talking about the education in America. Now, they have proven that various things exist, the God Code, the God Force. He's written all these books. He's an amazing guy. And of course, all his qualifications stack up for this lot, but they won't listen to him because he's been saying, why are you still teaching them the old stuff? He says, we have proven without doubt that the Darwinian theory doesn't stack up. He says, if we actually look at the DNA, humans are totally separate. They are not of the same genus, or whatever they call it, of chimpanzees or gorillas or whatever. It's not. And he says, if you go into any school, in the States anyway, they're still teaching all these things, and very much the same with doctors. Bruce Lipton, I think his name is, again, a metaphysical but fully qualified doctor, is also teaching new ways of thinking. I'm in charge of my body. How am I feeling that? All that kind of thing. I do a lot of that. I just so believe in that. And he says that they can't get them to change because, and he quoted it, it would take too much money to change all the textbooks, and it would take too much time and trouble and la la. So we'll just stay with the good old stuff that they've been teaching for the last heaven knows how many years. So, with that kind of attitude, I have to spend a lot of time sending love and forgiveness to the politicians on this planet, I can tell you. There's a word that, are you familiar with Glaswegians at all, Jack? Because we have a very good word coming from Glasgow, and it's quite simply numpty, which means people challenged. And I just think the politicians are a bunch of numpties. You know what I'm doing, don't you? I mean, seriously, you couldn't make it up what they do. What they're doing here in Ireland, beggars belief. I'm married to an Irishman. I mean, even Bill will say only in Ireland. And he's absolutely right. I mean, honestly, building bridges aren't big enough to take the full height of a lorry. Things like that. And they don't discover it till a lorry gets stuck in the under the bridge. I mean, honest to goodness. So anyway, yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I get a bit, I think, well, how can we change this? I mean, I know I brought this up with you all before. I get a bit frustrated. I keep coming back to thinking, well, all we can do is to use our divine feminine skills of visualization and manifesting it that way, because we are not going to get to talk to these people. So it's got to be a unified, positive force for good, influencing with our positive thoughts to have a lot of these things changed, including the eradication of greed and all that stuff. It's a big subject. We could be here all night, folks.
Thank you, Patricia, because what it brought up is I remembered the third thing. Now you know who's creating the world.
Mm-hmm.
How many of us were taught that in school?
Exactly.
Ooh, I'm creating the world. Like David said, I'm in so much hurt and pain and world I can't think about out there. How can I help and do anything? Well, let's heal yourself here. Because when you come back home, you're going to find all the heavenly gifts that were given to you and given to everybody. And once you are willing to get past all the self doubt or whatever and accept them for yourself, then you can share them with the world, and you will start creating the type of world you want to live in. And yes, like Krishna says, we can use imagination and intuition as absolutely as well. They're all part of that, making a more beautiful foundation again to create a heavenly world.
Yes. Yeah. And it's how to help the young ones find those inner strengths, inner gifts, God's gifts within them, and recognize them and work with them. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's also about creativity, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
When we tap into our creativity, because the channeling, because yes, I'm a channel. I accept the fact that I channel with the energy of the Reiki, with the sound, and with so much more. Creativity. When we can actually tap into our creativity, it's almost as if we tap into our child. Because as children, we are truly creative. And we somehow lose that. So helping our children to be creative and changing the system, don't get me started on that, because I don't think it's a matter of money. I think it's a matter of, but we can control it the way it is now. If we change things to the way that you're talking about teaching and encouraging growth, we're teaching people to think, children to think. And they don't want us thinking. Sorry, I've said it now, but they don't. But I'm going to go back to sort of something that you were saying, sort of, David, about it's gone. Great, guys. Thank you very
Don't
much.
ask me to say it again because I can't
No,
remember.
Do you know what? It's gone. I was going to come say it doesn't matter. I'm not meant to. Not at the moment, anyway. So it's being true to ourselves. It's helping people, and as you were saying, it's very much about, if you wish to change the world, change yourself. And that change of self, and I actually don't like the word change. It's about growth. Forgiveness of self, that's what it was. It was about, don't judge yourself for acting in the way you did, because you acted only on the knowledge you had at the time. You could only make a decision with the information you had at the time. And you can only make your best decision that you can with that information. Having made that decision, taken the action, what happens? You learn. And that is why we are where we are today. Because we didn't stop ourselves from taking action, from learning, from growing. And so if there is forgiveness to be given, but is there? It's you acted on the knowledge you had at the time. And so there isn't any forgiveness. But if you feel it's necessary, then do it. I love the fact that we're actually here having a human experience. We're meant to be having all these things happen to us so that we can grow. And I know we've got some folks watching. If you've got a question, if you've got a comment, please do use the live chat. Type in your comment, your question, because we're quite happy to take those. But if you're just enjoying listening, then that's fine. But it would be lovely to have sort of your feedback too, if you've got anything that you'd like to add. So it is really important that we allow our journey to also be our growth. It's not about changing. It's about supporting ourselves to grow and about it's that it's a word, isn't it? And I see the word change as being, there's obviously something wrong with you, the fact that you've got to change. Whereas you use that word growth, it becomes about where I was, but I've managed to grow from that. And that doesn't make there being anything wrong with you. But it's our understanding of words, it's our perception, it's our experiences, isn't it? So sort of, yeah, Jack, do you want to?
Well, what you're just saying just reminded me that was Gandhi's famous quote, right? Be the change that you want to see in the world. But the thing I realized is when I was teaching the kids was, where am I teaching them the being? I'm teaching them how to do. I'm teaching them how to take in thoughts, instructions, logic, reasons, and now kids go out and do, and your life is hunky-dory. Yep, but you look out there, and that's not what was happening. So it's like, we've got to come back to the being. And being only comes from feeling. And feeling, one huge concept, the mind cannot feel. And as a teacher, I said, oh my God, that's where I wanted to teach from. But I wasn't accepted, and that was okay. It was just to come, no, it's the heart. They even finally scientifically proven that the mind has a heart. Oh, wow.
Yes, they have.
And that's the only way I could get to holiness, is to listen to that mind. And it's not about throwing anything away or the idea that you're going to have lack, scarcity, lose something. It's just like, oh, little mind, in this moment, I heard your thought. I'm going to put you on your shoulder, and I'm going to ask that question in my heart and see what floats up. And then I'm going to take what your mind, and then does that integrate? Does that feel right? Because there'll be a feeling, a drawing forward, or an expansion, or a that kind of feeling within. And if you go with it. And if you don't, you say, sorry, little thought, into the garbage you go. Next, and we take another beautiful breath.
It was interesting because you spoke about Gandhi's saying about be the change from within. And that's what I was sitting here thinking. And I thought, oh, I've got to bring that up. And then you come out with it. It was like Patricia. It was just, I was coming up, and I thought, I'm just so glad that came up. And I suppose if you wanted, Sarah, you could say, the growth of the world or something starts within my growth, because we look out and we think, how are we going to help everybody in this world of craziness and turmoil at the moment? And we can't do and think this is too big a job, but we are 7 billion beacons of light, or beacons of holiness, or we can be. And just imagine if everybody started being their own light, being their own holiness. Just imagine that the power that could go through and transfer the world. We know we drop a stone in a puddle and it ripples out beyond, and it goes. And that's the same with our energy. We put our energy out and it ripples. So we don't need to know where it goes, but being the true, authentic self, by getting and really loving yourself, loving all the bits of yourself, good, bad, and ugly. It's what makes us. It's who we are. And if we just spread that out, think of the positive vibes that could be reached without you even having to do anything, by just being, as somebody said, by being your true self, you can change the environment around you. Never mind what goes on beyond.
I bow to you, Master.
Oh, no, please.
Why? Those were they were mastery words, my friend.
Oh, well, I need to drink of water. Thank you. It's just what I feel, just what comes through, you know, and I just need to pass it on. So, but thank you for that, Jack. But that's taken the wind out my sails. So, bless you.
How many people on the planet have been taught that they're wrong, they're bad, they're not good enough,
Yeah.
we don't deserve, and have taken that to the core. But it happened, like you said, so long ago in childhood that it just became unconscious. So we started beating our own selves up. And we didn't even know we were doing it. Where you get to a place eventually where, oh, somebody said, I hate you, Jack. Yeah, okay, so what? Hate me all you want. What else you got for me? That you're willing to take on all the negativity, all the crap, to belittle yourself down to nothing, which you don't deserve. And we're back to receiving. Well, if I feel I'm unworthy, I feel I don't deserve it, how much do I think I'm going to be able to receive? Whether it's from heaven, whether it's the good things that other people want to give me, whether it's a nice compliment or a gift. We can even get a gift, a beautiful physical gift, and unwrap it and have this showing everything's good. But the poor heart in here says, I'm not getting this because the mind's taking it and putting it on the shelf. I don't get to feel and receive that beauty, that goodness. I'll shut up for a minute. Sorry.
No, never apologize.
That's a song by Bon Jovi. No apologies.
About the receiving.
Mm-hmm.
As somebody who was extremely insecure and a people pleaser, so I was a giver. Receiving? Who would want to do anything for me? And it was 3 cards. I think it was angel cards and various different things that occurred. And it was just like, let yourself receive. You take so much pleasure from giving to others. Allow others the pleasure of giving to you. And I remember sort of my friend Trevor and I one day I sort of said, I've got a question to ask you, but if you can't do it, you don't want to do it, that's fine. And he told me off. He said, Sarah, if I can't do it, I'll tell you. But that's an insult to say that to me. Just ask. Because I've gone into that self-deprecating sort of, I'm not worthy of this, and I don't know whether I should really be asking you. And so I asked the question, and he said, yes, I can do that for you, and I will happily do that for you. And this was all at the same time as this card of let yourself receive. You are worthy to receive. All those things that happened that made you feel unworthy, unwanted, unloved, not good enough, that was because you as a child had no idea how to deal with what was happening to you. We are adults now. And this is what's happening with this mind. It's still in protection mode. It's still in thinking of you as a little child who has no idea how to deal with these things. It's thank you for all the protection you've given me over the years. However, I am now an adult and I have learnt well from you. Can we please change your role? Can you be, I put it in the form of sort of like a company. So, sorry, accountants, Um, your mind, your ego's been like an accountant who won't let the company do anything. They won't sort of spend the money on anything. I'm going to take your life and your job role and take you from being the accountant to being the personal assistant to my heart. So the saying, follow your heart, but don't forget to take your mind with you. And it is really, really important to do that. And as you were saying about sort of take that thought, put it on one side, and sort of then listen to the heart and what that says, etc. It's mind. You are here. And I actually use this as sort of like an affirmation every day. Thank you for the love in my heart, for a mind and an ego that works with my heart to make my heart choices happen. And that's what it's about, because the mind can really help make the heart choices happen in a safe way, in a way that really works for you. So the mind is actually a really important part of it, is part of that wholeness of self, because we are mind, body, and spirit. It is all three parts, like the Trinity. We are all three parts. And that's why we're having the human experience. Because I think, do we have minds as souls? Or are we just that complete sense of knowing? Now, there you go. There's a question for you, because I'm thinking, well, do we have minds? Because our minds really trip us up at times. But it's about the human experience. We're here to have that. And it's about helping the whole of us to work with us in this lifetime, and support us with everything that we do, but everything that we be. Because as you rightfully said, Jack, we are beings, we are not doings.
I love that.
For me, there's a lot in there about the divine feminine. I know I talk about that a lot. And it was because when I first got into this kind of work, and by that I mean psychotherapy, that kind of thing, it was really the feminine side that needed building up with people, because I've been educated through a very male dominated education system, and all about the mind, and very little about the heart, all about the left brain, the maths, the linear thinking, all of that, and less about the creative side. But what I've observed is in the last decade or so is that the divine feminine has really come up very well in men and women. And what suffered at the hands of that is the masculine, the divine masculine. It's almost as if the balance is going the other way now. And to me, the greatest strength that the divine masculine possesses is the one to make it happen, whatever it is, whatever it is that my beautiful right brain and source have created. It's just going to languish there unless left brain and my bigger heart, my heart, mind and my heart rather, get together and make it happen and bring it out and share it with the world. So, there needs to be that spiritual marriage within. But I don't know if the rest of you feel that that's out of alignment. But I do see that just now. I think there's a lot going on about sexuality and sexual orientation, all that kind of thing. I just see, evidence of that within humanity playing out as well. not to mention conflicts, which is the inner angers and war coming out, so that the masculine is active in some ways and less in others. And so, but it's quite comforting in a way to know that that's all going on, because it tells you what's going on inside every individual, that there are a lot of inner conversations going on and inner sortings out, because it's showing us out there what's happening. So do any of you notice that? Do you feel that the masculine has gone down a bit and the feminine has come up? Or what are you thinking about that?
So powerful and beautiful that you brought up the concept of the feminine. Right on. Once again from Chuck. One of the reasons I like to meet, one of the things he described himself, and a lot of you looking at me in this masculine body don't know, I'm a bounty hunter for the feminine. Because it's all about leading from the heart, and that's where the feminine is.
Yes.
And you look at the mental is that, and notice it wants to drive down. It gets to cut the sleuth off. Hasn't allowed the feminine. It's true freedom. It's victory of living life exactly like it wants to live.
Yeah.
So feminine, hooray. And it's not about being a male. It's not about leaving the masculine behind. You don't lose anything. I can tell everybody, you don't lose anything. I can be as masculine as I want. How I know I can be feminine? Because I was in a workshop with 250 people, and a woman stood up and says, "Hey, Chuck, we're talking about femininity. How come we got a male Jack back there leading us in it?" Whoop, I'm gone. Because I hadn't been leading from my heart before then.
Yeah.
And in that moment, it was, oh my God, I'm actually starting to allow my feminine to come through.
Yeah.
And I think the divine feminine has risen, as you say, Patricia.
Yes.
And you can see how I observe it, and it's just from my eyes, from my heart, how I see it, is as the feminine has risen, the masculine energy is fighting to stay above it.
Yes. Yeah.
Because they're getting threatened by this power that was taken away. So there's kind of a fight going on. Oh, I've got to keep up here. I've got to make my case stronger and stronger.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it will come to a point where the masculine will reach its point and then have to come down, because we know the love, the divine feminine, the love is going to balance itself out. But at the moment it's in that struggle where it's coming up and the male is going, no, you're not getting up to me. And so they up their game.
Yeah, no, you're dead right. Absolutely right. It's fascinating. Life is fascinating, is it not?
Oh,
Yeah.
Marvelous journey. Woof.
Okay.
So blessed to be on it.
We are coming towards the end of our program.
Wow.
And I know we've talked about what we said we were going to talk about, but I think it's gone. I don't think anybody knew where it was going to go, to be perfectly honest. But it's been brilliant, Jack. Thank you to the source universe for the topic, because I think it's touched lives, and that's what it's all about. So before we draw to a close, Jack, and I'll come to all three of you. Jack, any final words that you would like to say before we close?
Everybody, please realize that you are a holy child of God, whatever you want to call it, higher power, universe, universal. The word doesn't matter. Just that essence that's in you, that when you just sink into it, oh my God, you can always feel it's living me. oh, and I've denied this. I've pushed it away. I've judged it. And the more I allow it, the more beauty, the more gifts, the more wonder, more helpfulness I can be into the planet. Mwah. God bless you all. And thank you for including me.
Thank you, Patricia.
Oh, I'd like to echo all of that. Rubber stamp it all. That just sounded fabulous. You've definitely missed your vocation, you know. You need to be out there doing all that. Yeah, I'm so reminded with this conversation this evening of Louise Hay, whom I loved absolutely dearly and worked with her many times. And she wrote the wonderful book, You Can Heal Your Life, way back in the 80s. And, you know, she really covered every subject we've touched on tonight. It was all there. And so in many ways, I feel there isn't anything new. It's all been there. It's been spoken about for many, many years. And now my feeling is that more and more people are beginning to be able to receive, to hear the messages and take them on and expand their lives. As you say, this word change isn't great, but I think I read something recently, somebody saying they'd outgrown their past life, and I rather like that. I thought, yeah, I think we've all outgrown the past. So it's time to ditch that past as well.
David.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you, Jack, for making me think about what holiness was at the beginning. And that's really put a perspective on me. And I know it's made, really know whoever watches this, you're going to have made a difference to seeing people themselves as a higher being than what they think they are. And I think that's being, they know they're a higher being and realize that they're more than what they see in the mirror. And we can heal the world by healing ourselves. And I think you brought that very much to the fore tonight. So thank you very much, Jack.
God bless you. Thank you, David.
Thank you to you all. You know, because it's been a real conversation for the program today. A conversation that has sort of, yeah, absolutely, sort of, it's touched on so many different points, and I've really sort of hope people listened all the way through, and sort of, and if you wish to contact any of us, I will make sure that the contact details are under the video on YouTube. There's also a contact us page on the website, redefiningtv.com. Please, if there's anybody you want to contact, just put in there who you'd like that message to go to. I will make sure that message goes to them. So sort of if that's the easiest way for you to do it, please do that. So thank you to all of you. Next week, I've got a program, Zygon Healing with the Syrians. As in Sirius, not the country on this planet. So with Angelina Kedge, and then the following week got another today's conversation. Speak up. 3 reasons to be the fullest expression of yourself, which I think really follows on beautifully from today's program. So sort of so thank you to each and every one. Please feel free to join us for other programs and watch past programs. They're all on the giftofhealingtv.com website. Thank you to each and every one of you. It's been a real pleasure. Light, peace, and love. Namaste.
Thank you, Jack.
Good night.
Bye.